Hi, this is Reed Mellis. I'm going to have a discussion with a couple of my favorite clients from New England, Bill Stowell Sr. and Bill Stowell Jr. They are part of the Collins Business Group. We are going to have a little discussion about the process of life of a shop owner in a couple different recordings. So let's go ahead and Bill, go ahead and introduce yourselves and tell me a little bit about when you first started your first shop.
I'm Bill Senior, and if it's not obvious, we first started our shop. We got into the automotive business back in 1987 with the purchase of a Quick Lube franchise. And from there, in 2000, we moved into purchasing an automotive repair shop. And Bill Jr. came on the staff in 2017, and in 2019, he purchased a share of the business and has been the driving force on the business since 2019.
Stoll Jr., owner and CEO of the Collins Business Group, now functioning in 4 locations.
Awesome. And you guys are looking ultimately to expand and grow along the way your business. Am I correct with that?
That's correct. And I think the thing that we would like to bring to the table at this point is, in preparation to do that, we've learned a lot about what might be currently overlooked by a lot of business owners. And we'd like to pass that information on to make, whether it's involved with an acquisition or not, certainly to make the situation more profitable, more enjoyable for them.
Perfect. So today's discussion is a little bit about the evolution of a business and when it started. And I really liked Bill's approach to different stages of a business. Bill, can you go ahead and explain the stages that you look at or that you see of a business and expand upon each of the items?
Yeah, what we've learned to do is help identify it basically into 4 different categories. One stage we call a sleeper, which means you're running a steady business, but it's kind of stagnant. Stage 2 would be a runner, which is basically you're going full speed, but maybe not with the proper direction, proper assistance, proper team around you. Stage 3 would be a grower. You're building your value of the business with intention. And stage 4 would be an accelerator, which means you're ready for an exit, an expansion, a new investment, or something along those lines. And each stage offers opportunities and challenges, but the real question is, are you prepared? Bringing it back to your goals, are you prepared for your goals?
And a sleeper doesn't necessarily mean that you're completely stagnant. It's just oftentimes when you started your business, you were basically in survival mode, correct?
Yeah, the development process that every business owner goes through is you start out with an idea and you continue to build on that over the years. Hopefully along the way, you put yourself in a better financial position.
Awesome. Junior, you want to add anything to those?
Yeah, no, I think it's important to realize where you're at. To your point, a lot of people are starting a business, running a business. It's no easy task. It's very involved. Every day presents a different challenge. If you don't have your goals clearly defined, if you don't have your roadmap somewhat planned out, it can get pretty overwhelming.
Some owners were actually thrown into this. They didn't know they were going to be a business owner. They were probably a mechanic and all of a sudden became a business owner and really never knew what the roles of a business owner is and the steps that you would need to go through and have a successful business.
Yeah, I think in this industry, a lot of technicians are great at fixing cars, but the inclusion of business is a lot more complicated than just fixing cars. And you're right, people get thrown to the fire, not necessarily sure they want to be a business owner, but end up in that situation. And it's really important at some point that you can look at your business as an investment and not just a job and not just putting out fires all day, every day. It's really an investment, and you have to know going into it what you eventually want to get out of that investment.
In the outline or notes that you shared with me, you said that about 80% of the wealth is tied up and you should be focusing on connecting your business and your life goals together. Can you expand upon that and maybe team members that you'd need to have to make that happen?
Yeah, I think a term that we've come across and we've worked on developing through the process is what they call exit ready. And, exit ready is a term that does not necessarily mean that you want to exit your business, but that your business is structured and prepared to exit at any point should the need arise. A lot that gets overlooked through the development and life of the business is the unexpected need to exit your business. They refer to those unexpected events as 5 Ds: death, divorce, disagreement, distress, or disability. But those are things that you don't necessarily control. And to maximize the potential of your business, if you need to exit it, you need to be prepared and make sure you've put the groundwork and the team in place to help you maximize your value. One of the things you need to develop is a support team around you, experts and specialists in the fields that you're not. Most owners of automotive repair shops, as Junior alluded to, are excellent mechanics, excellent at getting the work done and getting the work out the door. Today's business involves a lot more involvement with running a business to be able to run it successfully. I think having your life goals and your business goals aligned is an ever-evolving process. It's a process that, you need to involve your family, you need to involve, other key individuals in your life. The object of this whole process is when you get to the end that you're able to provide for your family in your retirement.
I'm a believer that when you start a business, you should always be thinking of what your exit's going to look like. So I like your philosophy of starting with the idea of the end in mind, knowing what you ultimately want. I agree that a lot of business owners go into business without having a goal or aspiration of what they'd like to see. The only thing I ever hear a shop owner saying is, I want to do $1 million in sales. I want to do $2 million in sales. They're always worried about chasing that top line number. You could do $1 million in sales, you could do $2 million in sales, but if you have $20,000 profit, what good did you do with the business? People need to step back and say, how much do they really want to make along the way and design the business to accomplish their goals in profitability, which eventually will dictate the price. Any comments on that?
Yeah, I think you alluded to the 80% of businesses that get put up for sale don't sell. And there's reasons why they don't sell. Some of the other facts that have to do with businesses today, like you just alluded to, 60% of the owners don't understand their exit option. And 50% have done no planning at all for their exit. 80% of the shop owners haven't formed a transition advisory team. 80% of them don't have a written transition plan in place. It's an area where you get so busy every day that you lose sight of why you started this in the first place.
Can you share what type of team members do you think you need to have in place, outside advisors as well as inside advisors?
I think the biggest thing within house that you need is just a strong leader and a presence that can mirror you as if you aren't there. Because as easy as it is to get caught up in the business, it's far more important to get yourself out of the business from the day to day and to focus on these bigger goals. If you're the face of the business, if everything is ticking because you're the one that's there, it makes it very difficult for you to get to a position where you're able to focus on exit strategy, focusing on your why, figuring out why you're doing all this stuff. And that's really important to get to that level. I mean, I know a lot of shop owners who work in the business during the day and work on the business at night and work on some of those bigger strategic plans. And there's just not enough hours in the day. Running a business is too cumbersome if you don't have the right team in place to allow you to get away and do some of that stuff. Really developing a strong culture, really developing a leader who can be you when you're not at the shop and they can keep everything running as if you were there. That's really important for you to be able to get outside of the business. And I guess from an outside aspect, having a financial advisor, having an accountant, having an attorney that can really steer you in the right direction and provide the support that you need to come up with a successful plan for yourself as far as an exit strategy. And between the combination of those three, it's much easier to kind of formulate a plan of what you're looking for, what's a potential way for you to get there, some milestones along the way so you can keep track of your progress and work on successfully getting the return on investment that you've made with your business.
Yep. Yeah, Reed, if I could just add, a lot of shop owners enroll in programs with companies like ATI or the Institute for Automotive Excellence. They do that for a reason, to have support and help to run their business. And I think they need the same type of team support in other areas around their business in order to do it successfully.
In the shops that you've looked at along the way, do you feel many of them work with coaching companies?
I feel a majority of them do. I'm not sure how well implemented some of the teaching or strategies presented to them have been. It does take a real commitment in getting to a level where you have time to work on and implement that stuff. If you're too busy in the day-to-day, you can spend 3 days at a seminar, jump right back into the shop on the fourth day, and everything that you've just learned goes by the wayside. So to Senior's point, it is crucial to have some type of coaching to keep you aware of how to successfully run your business in the current day.
Awesome. All right. I think I covered what I wanted to do today, talking about the evolution of a business. Next time we get together, we'll talk about the idea of planning and thinking of an exit situation. Bill Senior, Bill Junior, thank you very much. Anything else you want to add before we sign off?
Just to expand on what Junior was talking about, in addition to being shop owners, we're more business owners than technicians. When you get your coaching advice, you need to put the credibility in the coaches that you have and implement the changes they suggest. Not being technicians, we don't necessarily have a preconceived notion on how our customers are going to react to rate increases and all the other things that the technical coaches try to teach. And I think that sometimes you have to step back and just take it on faith.
I would say that generally speaking, if you're going to work with a coaching group, you got to be willing to work on your business and not in your business, whether you're an advisor, service advisor, technician, or even an owner that's got to be willing to work on the business versus trying to just put out fires along the way. So I would definitely agree that the best way to go if you're going to use a coach is go ahead and take their advice, make the changes, because again, you're paying for their expertise. I agree.
Okay.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for this first get together. We'll talk more next time.
Thank you.
All right.